Hi class, I have just finished looking over all the rough drafts for the final assignment and I figured I'd just post an announcement. You'll see that I made some comments. I do know it's a rough draft and many of you had written that to me as well that you're still planning to do more expansion on that as well, so that's fine. So I just wanted to say if you go on the course information page and you look down here, you will find the actual assignment. And on the assignment page, it lists the different expectations. So when you're organizing your paper, it might be best to make sure that you review this. And this page discusses specifically making sure to do certain things, like for each page to make sure you start out an activity on each different page. So if you do activity 1 and you finish it on the second page, then start activity 2 on the third page. So each page should start fresh with a new activity. Make sure that you answer each of these questions. Now, some of you decided to do a section for children's ages 0 to 3, and you labeled it that way, and then another section for ages 6 to 11, and you labeled it that way. So that's great. It's just important to figure out how you're going to organize these various sections, and then also how you're going to address 1 through 9 listed here. Some folks decided to do headers for each of these, and that's great. So just think about that. Make sure that you start the new page with different activities and work through trying to figure out how you're going to address each of these questions and what that's going to look like for organization. I really feel like the headers looked really nice and clean for those of you that utilized it. And then it was easy for me to see, okay, this is what they're covering for this point, this point, this point, as I'm going to grade them within the next week. You're to have a reference after the activity if you didn't create it, and at the end of the assignment for your final draft, you should have a full list of APA references. So again, have a title page, start each activity on its own page, share your citations, quotations sparely. This is a big point, number 6. So the main thing to note is with each activity that you make sure that whomever is reading it could be able to replicate the activity. So that being said, some of the activities I noticed are more theoretical in nature, and that's fine. So some folks might have said, I want to utilize play therapy in the first age range, and this is what it's going to look like. That is absolutely fine as long as when I or any of your classmates or any other professional were reading the activity would be able to say, okay, this is how I could do that activity. So make sure it's clear and instructional so that anyone reading it could understand this is what it looks like and this is how I could replicate that. Make sure that you check through your final copy to make sure there's no spelling errors, no grammatical errors. But a lot of this is pretty common sense down here with some of this, and of course don't plagiarize. In regards to some of the other notes that I saw, I already mentioned the headings, explain how to replicate. It's fine if it's theoretical in nature, just really make sure that I understand it or anyone else reading it. Make sure that somewhere in each activity that you tie into how this could work specifically with abuse or neglect. So some of you were very clear in stating this will work with abuse because it's going to be discussing how to regulate or identify emotions or to create safety or to create a safe space. So make sure that you have that in your description. And then some of you asked me, I've had some concerns, okay, well, where do I find these things? There's not a lot out there, Dr. Good, about treating abuse. Well, that's part of the reason for this assignment. You're going to see there's a lot out there about prevention, but there's really a gap in regards to how do we work with some of these populations. So what you need to think about is when you did your own research on abuse, as we're talking about in class, what are some of the secondary impacts? What are some of the things that you see with abuse? What are some of the behavioral responses? What are some of the emotional responses? What are some of the physical responses, the cognitive responses? And how then, based upon what I know with the various activities, the knowledge that I have, and the research that I formulated, can I come up with activities that might work? So maybe you know some sort of intervention that you've utilized with children that have problems with depression. How then can you tweak that and relate it to some child that might have had abuse and work that for their treatment as well? So some of it's going to require some manipulation and thinking through, and that's part of the process of the assignment. but it's okay. And that's why we're creating these interventions. So by the end of this class, you will have hundreds of interventions that you can utilize when you have your own practice or different activities that you can refer to. So I hope this little announcement was helpful. You all are off to a great start. Let me know as you have questions. I can answer more during our class on Wednesday, but I just wanted to create this little video to remind you to look at this page, and then also if you go back to the course information page as well, if you go down to the bottom, you'll also see the rubric for the final assignment as well. So you can look at the rubric if you would like and see what you need to do in these different areas in regards to the components of activities, rating style, in order to earn the highest grade possible. I hope this has been helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions that are coming out through the rest of the week, and I will try to answer any in our class time on Wednesday, all right? Thank you.